I'm talking to Larry Palmer, class of 66 classmate who's an author of a book called Scholarship Boy. Um, Larry has previously published two scientific um, scholarly health policy and bioethics um, books, but this is this first excursion into a narrative. The book flap says that Scholarship Boy, where uh, Palmer reflects on his experiences as a young black boy growing up far from home, learning to fit into a white world without becoming estranged from his closely knit family. And writes about the delicate, complex balances within the family and illustrates the ways his sibling relationships shaped him as he was also being molded by an elite education. Um, High blown words, but all I could think of was leaving home from a close knit, large family at the age of 14 and how scared you must have been.
Yes and no. I don't think I was. I was up for this adventure. I very much wanted to go um, to Exeter. My father was reluctant. I think for lots of reasons. I was very small at the time. It's hard for people at Harvard to believe that I weighed less than 100 pounds when I arrived on the Exeter campus. But I think I was ready for an adventure outside of my family, being the ninth child and that large family, which also had lots of academic stars in it. I wanted to sort of feel myself in the world, and I think most kids who are successful at boarding school, and I'm not just talking grade-wise, but enjoy and grow from the experience, have a little bit of that they didn't quite either fit into the public school, and I'm not sure I would have fit into the public school, high school I was supposed to go to. And they are sort of free or liberated by being in an environment where they can be the teenagers they are. I mean, so, but I think one of the main reasons I was so interested in, not interested, but the memoir just kept coming back to me, or in essay forms, was people often ask me, how'd you get to Exeter? And I always say, my older brothers convinced my dad to let me go. And they go, what? Yes, I had these older brothers who fought, advocated with my dad so that I could have much greater opportunities than they ever had. Don't you have older brothers like that? And most people would go, no. And I got just intrigued with how I was shaped by those relationships because they were so close knit, and bringing a reader into that story of how one child veers off the path that the other kids are on, I thought might be of interest to readers. I think what the way I constructed the book was, yes, I'm a Black man, but probably more important, I'm a member of this multi-generational family of 10 siblings. And I think what my book does, unlike many more memoirs by Black writers, male, it's not a dramatic action growth. It's an attempt to find my own humanity, which I think is the main problem that we're struggling with still in this country. Is how can you present yourself as a human being in a divided country that's racially divided like ours? And I thought the family story helped me tell my human story, so that there are lots of points in the book where you can't tell, is that because I'm Black, or is that because I grew up in this large complex family that certain things happened to me? The reason why I liked it, page 9, is particularly the train scene where I'm on the train and crying, is that the introductory story, what many writers call the emotional river of the book, is right there. I'm anxious to go to Exeter, but I know I'm leaving something behind, affection and deep ties. And if you look at the whole page, the passage when I'm on the bridge, I'm sort of suspended between two worlds as I cross the Mississippi River. So I like that notion that we get the boy on the train, but the boy is still the boy. He's not the adult. He's not the independent graduate of Harvard College. He's a 14-year-old kid who's never spent a night away from home on a train by himself. And, I like that. But the second part is straddling two worlds. My sister, Leela, my second oldest sister, is by coincidence marries approximately at the same time and moves to Los Angeles, but always in St. Louis. I told her once, I once calculated her first 6 years of marriage, 3 of those years were spent in St. Louis with her family. But we were kind of the outsiders. She's on the West Coast, I'm on the East Coast. And I felt easily able to talk to her. Now, writing that chapter of Dancing with My Sister when I'm 9 years old was just such a delight because I could go back and choreograph that dance with words of what it feels like to be taught to dance, to how to position your body, how to respect your partner's body. So, and the second part about my sister is that she's actually there all the time. She's there before I go away to Exeter. She happens to be there, notices that I'm too nervous to eat. She's there when my dad dies and calls me in the third part. So she sort of dances, someone says she sort of dances through the whole story in a very nice way. And the last part, if I could read to a Harvard audience, is my dad comes to my Harvard graduation, and I, being the self-involved teenager, had noticed that he had a cane. He's walking on a cane. He's very slow. He's walking up from Lowell House. We're down, I'm showing my parents around, being sort of like a docent. I've always wanted to be a docent. And, just reeling stuff off. And mid-sentence, my mother grabs my arm and she stops me and she says, looks back, my dad's behind us. She says, your dad's waited all his life to see you graduate from Harvard and you're going to slow down. And I turned around and I looked at my dad and saw that just look of delight in his eyes. It had nothing to do with Harvard. It had to do with me. And maybe that was one of the few times I had my parents really to myself, my dad to myself. So I walked back, put my arm in his arm, and move at his pace for the entire rest of graduation.
You have me misting up on that.
Oh, it's such a beautiful scene of just memory that's my dad. He loves me. He's doing everything he can for me. I was really angry when they told me they couldn't help me at first, but I realized I got a check. I was a child of a disabled worker. I got a Social Security check. I had a Harvard National Scholarship. I did not have a lot of loans when I left Harvard. And because I had a great job. And so that moment of recognition was just so perfect. It just evoked just the idea of walking at the same pace my dad could walk to, allowed me to kind of recapture a lot of my childhood with my dad. So my dad comes, and it also explains to some degree why the funeral is such that I don't shed a tear, but 3 weeks after I get back to Yale Law School, 3 weeks later, I wake up in the middle of the night and did a fit of tears. And once again, it's that part of my personality is that sometimes pushing things away, which I had to, writing a book made me so much aware of that I can do it in very strange situations, even though my sister warned me that was going to happen to me.